Welcome to New York's #2 sports show. The Rangers pathetically lose 6-5 in overtime to the San Jose Sharks. So the Sharks get their first win of the season. They had been 0-4-2. And dating back to last year, they had a 17-game losing streak. They lost their last 11 games last year. They hadn't won a road game since March 4th. March 4th of, this year, last season. And so Rangers still haven't won at home. They're now 0-4-1 at home. They drop overall to 3-4-2. It's just not good for this team. And there really isn't much reason for true optimism, honestly, especially if they're going to play like this. The only reason to have felt like, all right, maybe they can find their way is even though they were losing those games, and as frustrating as it was, and I expressed concerns that I had, at least they're playing good defense. At least they were playing structured, sound positionally, good tempo, controlling a lot of the play. They were doing that. Last two games, not at all. And to do this against the Sharks, it's just disgraceful, honestly. Knowing that the Rangers have not yet won at home. Now, so great. They got 5 goals at home, but whoop-de-doo, you do it against San Jose, who basically allows more goals than anyone else in the league. And another example of much more like San Jose, they got more talent and way more young talent. Macklin Celebrini had quite the night. Hat trick, 2 assists, 5 points for Macklin Celebrini. The kid he's a star. And that's what happens with number 1 picks. But our number 1 pick is not a star. And that's what's frustrating. Like, more than not. Now, look, there's different tiers, right? Of course. Like, not everyone's Connor McDavid, right? For example, not everyone's Sidney Crosby. But, and we'll talk about many players that I'm frustrated with just this game or in general. But, you see what Celebrini's doing, and you just wish that Lafreniere can be anywhere close to what that is. And it's just not the case. But that's the thing, too. Like, the Rangers, they got a hat trick from Taylor Raddysh. Taylor Raddysh got a hat trick. He played really well. And that's not, him getting a hat trick, that's not something that will happen. I'm going to make a guess. He's probably not going to get a hat trick in the season. In fact, he might not have another 2-goal game this season. And you lost home against the Sharks when Taylor Raddysh had a hat trick. Let that sink in for a moment. So just a terrible, terrible game by the Rangers. The top 6 is just awful. Right. And I'm not saying the bottom 6 is great, right? Because there's a conversation on both sides there. But just speaking of the forwards, like individually, man, the top 6 is just awful. Really, really is. And, we'll talk about some more than others, but, what else was awful? They get off to a really bad start. It's like, this is the shit that we've seen with this Ranger team in recent years. Where, you maybe you'll get like 2 periods out of them. First period sucked. First period was terrible. They were losing 3-1. So right off the bat, you're playing catch up. The Rangers actually did take a 4-3 lead, but the other fucking problem in this game is that San Jose scores with 9 seconds left in the first, and they score with 6 seconds left in the second. Both goals by Celebrini. It's poor situational hockey. It's really horrendous decision making. Just careless with the puck. There is no fucking situational awareness with this team. And look, Igor gives up 6 goals, but I'll say that, like, collectively, these were, I don't look back at many and say, like, okay, like Igor should have had that. Truly. Out of the 6, there isn't really these were some just either right in front or just incredible one-time snipes in positions that you can't allow that to happen. Way too much open ice. Rangers basically, and this isn't even, see, I don't want this to be an excuse, so take it with a somewhat grain of salt, but the Rangers basically, like, they didn't respect their opponent here. And that's a damn shame for the Rangers. Who are the Rangers? Who are the Rangers to be basically acting like anyone is beneath them? And again, they're just not that good. Like, that's part of it. The Rangers are just not that good. Like, that's the sad reality. And you know what? Mike Sullivan's got his work cut out for him because, I like what I hear in terms of, I guess, just the frustration and nothing else. Like, you feel that with Mike Sullivan in the post game pressers. I don't know that he's gonna be able to fix this. He'll try his best. And this is coming from someone that, like, again, like, I wasn't like so high on the Sullivan hire. Like, I think that I understood why it happened, and his credentials and resume speak for itself. And honestly, he has history as a Ranger assistant coach years back. So um, I like Mike Sullivan, but like, I think it's going to be a real tough task for him to really turn this group around. Right now, maybe if he's still around when this roster is kind of reshaped, that's one thing, but it is difficult. I have a lot of overarching thoughts. Um, but maybe let's just go through the game because I think it'll come up naturally as far as just players that I'm frustrated with. I think, and if I forget anything, then I'll get back to it by the end. Um, the lines were different. The lines were different in this game. A couple of switches. They switched Lafreniere to start, right? Because I'll say that due to an injury, and I'll just, say it, Matt Rempe gets hurt in a fight with Ryan Reeves. So, um, it was an upper body injury. He was taking some shots from Reeves. Now, Matt Rempe is not the best fighter, right? As much as he has size, as much as he's willing to drop the gloves, I'd rather him not. Now, in this situation, like, it kind of, the Rangers weren't playing well, like, in terms of getting the boys going. Like, if I get it for that reason, but like, Ryan Reeves is not a good hockey player. Like, certainly at this point of his career, we saw that with the Rangers. The fact that he's still around I'm not even sure what the word is for that, but Ryan Reeves has always been a very good fighter. That's been his calling card, and it's just he's in a different tier than Rempe, and Rempe does leave the game. Rempe only played one shift, and it led to the fight. So, but before that, so with an injury, there was a bit of line juggling. But before that, Rempe is a couple of changes. Lafreniere for Cooley, so they went back to the original, which, like, I'm fine with. I don't really, again, like, I don't think that one is that much different than the other. As far as, like, they went back to Zibanejad centering Panarin and Lafreniere, Miller centering Sherry and Cooley. Like, fine. But what was more interesting to me was they actually swapped Rempe and Raddysh. So it was Raddysh with Carrick and Edstrom and Rempe with Laba and Parsonen. Now, that doesn't really come to fruition so much because Rempe's out, but I guess Taylor Raddysh ends up having a great game, and he actually ends up moving up in the lineup. He ends up moving up into they basically moved Will Cooley down, which we'll talk about. Will Cooley's been horrible. Like, let's just call a spade a spade. He's been terrible. And so they actually moved Raddysh up. Hey, Raddysh really hadn't done much until this game, but you know what? The way he was playing, like, it's things like that. Good for Sullivan, like, for at least acknowledging that. Now, do I wish that some of the more because Cooley, Cooley's not a veteran. I wish that you would see some of that a little more with the veterans where they lose their time, but that's here nor there. Um, so the defensive pairings were the same, right? So as far as the healthy scratches go, it continues to be Vakanainen and Brodzinski on forward side. Um, but the Rangers just get off to a bad start. Just really looked like shit from the beginning. And the Sharks score at 158. Adam Gaudette, his third goal of the year from Graf and Misa. And this is a play where it's the Zibanejad line. And I don't know. I mean, Gaudette just is wide open in front. That can't happen. And I feel as if maybe it was Zibanejad that went out of position. It's hard to tell. Gavrikov and Zibanejad go behind the net, and Gaudette just wide open in front. That cannot happen, and that makes it 1-0 San Jose. Then at 5:55, you get the Rempe Reeves fight, which had a lot of haymakers on both sides. Again, Reeves delivered with more than Rempe did. And Rempe leaves the game. And again, like, I'm totally speculating here, but he took some shots to the head. Like, you never know, right? In a fight, like, it could be a number of things, right? Maybe he hurt his shoulder. Like, it's not definite that it's concussion. But it's not all that surprising given, the hits that he took there. So I hope Rempe's all right, but as they head for this Western Canadian road trip, which sucks for Rempe personally, because I actually think, and I could be wrong, I think Rempe is a guy, and I apologize if I'm incorrect here, that I think he might be a guy that like may have grew up a Flames fan or somewhat like that was the closest place that he was as far as an NHL team. I could be wrong on that. So if that is the case, that'd be unfortunate for him to miss this of all times. But anyway, hope he's all right. 6'11", 16 seconds. So this is the problem. As much as like you're looking for the, renewed energy and a change after the fight, what happened 16 seconds later? Adam Fox hooks Will Smith. And Adam Fox has just been in too many positions this year where he's taking penalties. And where he just throws his head up and he just gives that look. It's just for Fox, you just want more. You want to see the Fox that you saw a few years ago. And I feel like the Gavrikov Fox pair, it's had its good games. It's obviously the best pair they have by far, but it hasn't been great. And I think Gavrikov, I don't love what I've seen from him. I know that he's not like a fleet of foot. I know he's not a speed guy. I know that, but I don't know. Just eye test wise, I haven't loved what Gavrikov has brought to the table. Understanding his style of play, I get it. He's not going to be an offensive type defenseman. But anyway, that's low on the list of things, really, of concerns at this point. But Fox takes that penalty at 6:11. And 6 seconds later, on the power play, Macklin Celebrini scores his third goal of the season from Eklund Norlaug. Now, this is a very, it's off the face of it. It's a very unfortunate goal where it's a shot by Eklund at the point, and it basically, I think it originally maybe goes off of Borgen, then it goes off of like Matthew Robertson, and then off of Celebrini. That order is probably wrong. I'm pretty sure Matthew Robertson, his stick is broken. It's pure chaos, and it's not shot in. It basically it pinballs off of a bunch of different players, and Celebrini gets the goal. On the Robertson front, because I don't know that I'll get back to Robertson, thought he struggled in this game. Well, actually, maybe I would have, because Robertson does take a penalty later on, but I thought Matthew Robertson was not great. And look, obviously, like he has done a really nice job since he's been called up, has exceeded expectations, but I did think this was a bit of a struggle for Robertson. So 2-0 San Jose, scoring off of that Fox penalty. But, first there's at 8:19, Timothy Liljegren is called for delay of game, and the Rangers don't score on the power play. The Rangers do get one power play goal in this game, but it's not good enough. I don't like the power play. It got a goal. It's been a little bit better lately. I'll acknowledge that, but I just don't like what I see from it. That's just my opinion there. So they don't score on that power play, but the Rangers do score at 14:19. Taylor Raddysh, the second goal of the season, assisted by Carrick and Soucy. Pretty simple play here, and maybe one where Alex Nedeljkovic, the San Jose goalie, maybe wants to have back. It's a shot by Raddysh from up top, and maybe Edstrom causes a little bit of a screen, maybe just his, but doesn't really deflect in off anyone, and it's a goal for Raddysh to cut it to 2-1. And you're hoping at this point the Rangers can kind of get going. And at 16:34, Will Smith hooks Connor Sherry. And so the Rangers go back on the power play. They don't score. And to make matters worse, Macklin Celebrini scores again. Second of the game, fourth of the season from Smith and Eklund. And this is a bad play by two players, Will Cooley and Sam Carrick. First off, Carrick with an uncharacteristically just kind of I don't know if lazy is the right word, but a nonchalant sort of shot up the boards. And then he just goes off to the bench. Like, it's one thing, okay, fine. The initial thing to do that, that's all right. You hope that Will Cooley wins the 50-50 battle, which he didn't. I'm really upset for Cooley for not getting that job done there, but Carrick didn't exactly put him in a position to succeed, to be fair. So both of them fucked that up. Cooley is unable to at least just hold it at a bare minimum, right? It's one thing to not get it out. It's something, just keep the possession and let the clock go. But Cooley is unable to do that. And Eklund is able to get it to Will Smith, and then Celebrini just beats Matthew Robertson to the slot. He beats him to the spot that he needed to go to, and he scores past Shesterkin. Really nice shot by Celebrini. I love it. Could Igor have had that one? Maybe. But man, Celebrini has got quite the release, and it makes it 3-1 San Jose. That's a bit of a backbreaker. However, the Rangers come out with a little bit of better play in the second. However, where does it start off bad? Alexis Lafreniere at 109, high six, Vincent Desharnais. I mean, Lafreniere is just, it's just really fucking frustrating with him. And he gets that contract last year too. I mean, it couldn't have worked out for the Rangers so far with that whole thing where he gets the the long-term extension and what is it, 7 mil at least. And it's just awful. And he had one opportunity early. Now he does end up making a nice assist, which we'll talk about in the power play. It's not like he did not. I mean, some of the second period was good, but then it gets bad again. But anyway, Rangers do kill it off. And then at 3:56, Tidal Landry high sticks Adam Fox. So Fox took a penalty that led to a short goal, but he also draws a penalty that leads to a Ranger goal, and it's Mika Zibanejad scoring his third goal of the season. It's on the power play from Lafreniere and JT Miller at 4-4. And this was a nice pass by Lafreniere to find Zibanejad. It was a picture perfect play that you're not always going to get, but they do get it here. And Zibanejad's able to easily fire it in to make it 3-2. And then not that much after, at 6:47, Rangers tied up. And it's a goal by Juuso Parssinen, who didn't really play much of this game with the line juggling. He kind of lost time, but he scores the second goal of the season from Sherry. A nice goal by Parssinen. Made a nice little move. Nice pass by Sherry as well to find him. And so, look, in that, if you want to call it a battle between Parssinen and Brodzinski's got the upper hand right now. However, with Matt Rempe potentially out, that gets Brodzinski back in. But unrelated to all that, you really want to see like a Brett Berard or a Brendan Hoffman up instead of some of these guys. Now, Taylor Raddysh was one of those people that was in mind. He gets a hat trick, right? So that conversation is a little bit off the board. But and I guess Parson scored as well, right? So I guess the real competition that would have maybe had those guys in is, maybe not as much of a selling point now. But with the Rempe potential injury, let's just say Brodzinski goes in the lineup or not. Like, it would necessitate them calling up a forward. So we'll see what happens with that. But Parsons' goal ties it up at 3. And then at 11:51, Matthew Robertson interferes with Adam Gaudette again. Not a great game for Matthew Robertson, but the Rangers end up benefiting off of this. It's a short end to goal for the Rangers, and it's Taylor Raddysh. Second goal of the night, third of the season, unassisted. And I believe it might have been, I think it was Celebrini that actually lost control of the puck, and it's a 2-on-1 where Zibanejad did the other side, but Raddysh just, really snaps it home. Nice shot by Raddysh to give the Rangers a 4-3 lead. And so a decent team at that point against a bad Shark team should be able to find their way to victory after that. But no, not these Rangers. No. And yet again, you have a bad goal at the end of the period. And this one is one scored by Celebrini. It's a hat trick for him, his 5th goal of the season from Smith and Orlov. Ties it up at 4. Just a terrible job by Lafreniere in the offensive zone in the first place, where he makes a cross-sized pass that gets intercepted that had no chance. Even before that, just the way he was going in, kind of lackadaisically, fucking terrible. And so then the situation where that's not a line, the Panarin, it doesn't matter who's in the middle, right? Like whether it's Trocheck, Zibanejad, like when Panarin and Lafreniere are on the wings, that's going to be like a problem. That's a problem defensive line, right? Like, so that's the one thing. And I think that Gavrikov and Fox were on for a while. And so the Sharks are just working the Rangers in their zone. And as a Ranger fan, you're just hoping that that the whistle blows and the period ends. And they weren't so fortunate. Sharks are able to win the battles along the boards. Panarin is a non-factor, obviously, along the boards. And it was Smith who finds Celebrini, who wires it past Igor. So it's tied at 4. That was a bad omen and a bad sign of what was eventually to happen to the Rangers. So we go to the third period. And again, I felt like the Rangers, they played a little bit better. Like second and third period, the Rangers played a little bit better for sure. First period was horrible. They found their game. I mean, they weren't amazing, but they were okay. But again, like the late period, like some of the things that happened, decision-making was just fucking brutal. So we go to the third, tie game. And then the Rangers take some key penalties, but before that, Vincent Desharnais is called for delay game at the 48-second mark, and the Ranger probably does not score. I know they had the goal before, right? They were 1 for 4. It's not terrible by any means, but I just don't trust it. And then at 4:24, Will Cooley trips Jeff Skinner. Will Cooley's been terrible this year, right? Like he was one of the bright spots last year. Cooley has looked lost. I didn't bring it up, but like last game, there was a situation where he had Artemi Panarin wide open in front and just like took the off-angle shot. I really don't like how he's looked from the outset. And he was given a chance for a top 6 role. He may have lost that. He may have lost that for now. Like when they start next game, don't be shocked when Taylor Raddysh is in the spot that Will Cooley, was supposed to be in, or something to that effect. He's losing. He still played a lot in this game, and I still like Will Cooley and what he can bring, but just it hasn't been good. And then unfortunately, despite Taylor Raddysh, having a great game, he does hook William Eklund 6 seconds after. So the Rangers are now down. It's 5-on-3 for the Sharks for 1 minute and 54 seconds. And the heartbreaking part of this is the Rangers almost came out of it unscathed. In fact, the Sharks goal that comes here was actually even strength. It was actually a second after the Raddysh penalty ends. So Cooley comes out of the box, and the Rangers were doing a decent job on this penalty kill, which could have provided some momentum as well. But Will Smith gets his first goal of the season from Macklin Celebrini at 6:31. And Will Smith was just open in front. Again, just kind of hacking away. They had the manpower because, at that point, Cooley just came back and Raddysh, hadn't even left the box. So the Sharks take a 5-4 lead. So again, it's just one of those things, right? Like late period goals. It's a similar feeling with this goal right as the 5-on-3 had expired. But Taylor Raddysh had one more trick up his sleeve. He gets the hat trick. So double hat trick in this game. Celebrini and Taylor Raddysh. Raddish's fourth goal of the season from Miller and Fox, 11:50. So Miller's leaving the ice and he makes a backhand pass to a streaking Raddysh down the right side. And he just, fires a slap shot, glove side past the Nedeljkovic. Very impressive game for Raddysh. Again, it's against the Sharks, right? But still, for him to do that, hopefully gives them some confidence. The Rangers need all the scoring help they can get. And so if Raddysh can give them that, that'll be helpful. Really, really much so. So it ties it up at 5. And the Rangers, I would say, probably controlled a lot of the play at the end of regulation. But it goes to overtime. And so that in and of itself feels pretty defeating. And I'm thinking, I don't like the Rangers in 3-on-3 against most teams. Now, the Sharks had been 0-2 in their overtimes this season. Rangers were 0-1. They lost to the Leafs. But it's a skills competition for a Ranger team that doesn't have a whole lot of it compared to other teams. And when you combine that with bad mistakes and turnovers, like we saw in Toronto and like we saw in this game, it leads to a loss. And that's exactly what happens. Will Smith gets the game-winning goal. Second goal of the game for Will Smith, second of the season from Celebrini and Nedeljkovic. Now, it's interesting that Nedeljkovic gets an assist here. So there's a couple of things. The Rangers start out with Zibanejad, Panarin, and Fox, and eventually the possession is lost really on Igor not being smart. Igor tried to be aggressive, and I think he was trying to find JT Miller, who was coming on a change. It just wasn't smart in that situation. Igor needed to be more patient and keep the puck possession. However, the Rangers look to have got it back. Behind their net, it's a situation where it's JT Miller and Braden Schneider. I'm going to put more of the blame on JT Miller, but it probably goes both ways. JT Miller needed to make sure that the puck was still with him. He leaves it for what he thinks to be is Schneider to get it, but Schneider doesn't get it. Celebrini's the one that comes away with it, and he finds Will Smith, who scores. And for me, it's a couple of things. The fact that Braden Schneider is your second defenseman out in overtime, it says a lot. It's bad. And the only other person that to me would even be a consideration would be Gavrikov, right? It's not going to be Soucy. It's not going to be Robertson. It's not going to be Borgen. Like, again, it just think about that for a moment. And so Schneider's like your second power play guy. And that's just not great. And so, but I want to focus it more on JT Miller. And I know there was some little plays that he made in this game that were all right. In fact, he ended up getting 2 assists, right? Like, so score sheet wise, it's not so bad. But JT Miller needed to do a better job. And I didn't like how, even after the play, it almost as if, and maybe I'm wrong, it's almost as if he was like upset with Schneider based on sort of his gesturing after the goal was scored. If JT Miller is hurt, he should not be playing. Flat out. He looks like shit. He looks terrible. And if he's hurt, please don't try to be a hero and play. So that's one part of it, right? If he's hurt, don't play. Don't play. If he is healthy, then that's even more of an issue. Then that is a real, real concern. And there is a chance. Forget about the Philip Hedl part of it. Forget about that. But that JT Miller trade, it's got potential to be a fucking disaster. It just does. And as much as at the time, look, and we said that we called out the risk of it, but the hope was, that JT Miller was still someone that was in the prime of his career, that, you know, and I think that there was a little bit of excitement to bring a player back who was drafted by the Rangers, who, I think there was a little bit of excitement, even if you were someone that was anti bringing in JT Miller. I think that just it was cool to see him back as a Ranger. But he has such a big role in this team. He's now the captain. He's under contract for 5 more seasons, including this one. And early returns are not good. Now, when they first had him last year, he was pretty solid. He looks off, and I'm hoping it's injury. But again, like, you're not helping the team at this point. I know Trocheck's out, right? And so it does put you in a bind if he's not playing. I get that. I understand that JT Miller at 60, 70% is better than the alternative, but he looks bad. And we're not even going to talk about Panarin in this game. Panarin was good the last game, so I'm not going to, it's easy to, I've had many episodes talking about Panarin, but he did not. I mean, he was nowhere to be found in this game, which is crazy against the Sharks. But yeah, it's just not good. Rangers 3-4-2, 0-4-1 at home. Sharks losing streak is over. And yeah, we'll see. I mean, now they go to Calgary and it starts a 4-game road trip. Calgary, Vancouver, Edmonton, Seattle. And Calgary has been the worst team in the league. At this point, unequivocally, after the San Jose win, Calgary's 1-6-1, which is the worst points percentage and the least amount of points in the league. They have the worst goal differential at -16. They have 13 goals in 8 games. And yet, I look at this and I say, hey, Rangers might lose. Calgary looks at the schedule and says, hey, we're home against the Rangers. Like, this is one of our best chances to win. And also, Rangers were bad against Calgary last year. Like, 2 of their worst games of the year were against Calgary. No doubt about it. But, man, you lose that game, it has the potential for a pretty ugly road trip. Now, the one thing I'll say is the Rangers have played some pretty good road hockey. Like, they have. And the record backs that up. Like, they've been terrible at home. They are 3-0-1 on the road. And so they're going to need to carry that with them. They can't be thrilled about the way that they played. It's got to be a sour taste in their mouth. And Sullivan's pissed off, but it's going to be an interesting road trip. See what they can do, because this thing can turn real ugly fast. And I know they got a point, but really discouraging stuff after really about, let's say, 6 straight games of playing just real sound hockey. Even though some of those games they got shut out, even though some of those games, there were things that were frustrating, you still felt like, all right, like, this is a change. These last 2 games, especially the San Jose one, it felt like the Rangers that we saw last year. And that's a major problem, given the lack of talent on this team. So Rangers lose to the Sharks 6-5 in overtime. What a game for Macklin Celebrini. He was, the best player on the ice for San Jose and the best player on the ice for either team. So yeah, Rangers will head to Western Canada and start a road trip that begins in Calgary. And if the Rangers lose to Calgary after losing to San Jose, that is highly disturbing.